everybody. Welcome back to What's Mommy's Name podcast. Thank you guys for watching and listening and subscribing. We really appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed, please do. We also have an Instagram, a TikTok, and a Lemon8. So if you want to click below to follow and subscribe to those as well, we would appreciate it. And yeah, I hope you enjoy this episode. This is episode 3. Today we're going to be talking about becoming moms.
Yes.
And I'm excited actually for the questions we have that we're going to be asking each other, because there's just so much I feel like I've already forgotten to think about in terms of pregnancy and motherhood. So.
Right. My oldest is 8, and that's a long time. I had to look back on Facebook posts, what was I feeling during those moments?
What year did you get pregnant?
2014.
And how old were you?
19, turning 20.
Okay. Yeah. And so this was, you said 2014, because I was going to say at the end of all of our craziness.
Yeah.
Was your daughter planned?
I would have to say yes. Not like a traditional plan, but definitely not trying to get pregnant.
Okay, so describe that to us. What do you mean? You were okay with having a baby, or you were...
I think I was okay with it because it was talked about, and I was under the impression that, it was the right time for us based on things my ex told me. He really wanted to start, a family, and yeah, it just seemed like the right thing to do in the moment.
Okay. So in other words, planned, right? Yeah. You guys talked about having a baby, and you were kind of saying we should start a family, and kind of not using protection.
Right.
And okay, if we get pregnant, then we're having a baby.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say that's kind of my experience as well. I was at a place, I got pregnant either at the very end of 2019 or the first week of 2020. And for me, it was more of I was ready to settle down, and I knew that this was the person that I wanted to be with. And at that point, it seemed it was okay, we're either gonna have a family or I'm scooting.
Oh my gosh.
Because I just felt
Well, you guys were with each other for a long time at that point already.
Even if it was kind of on and off, we, I knew, and I mean, he wanted to be with me, so
it was kind of just the next
smart thing to do.
Step,
right?
Yeah.
Right. Was it the smart thing to do? Probably not, because we were not really in a place to have a child.
Right.
And I realized that, after, but in the moment, it was almost that was our commitment to each other in a dumb way, so.
No, yeah, I can agree with that.
Yeah. So anyways, we got pregnant, and at the beginning of 2020 was when I found out that I was pregnant. So, and it was, I would say, for the most part planned. We were okay, yeah, let's start a family kind of thing.
So what was your living situation at the time?
I was living with him in his apartment.
So you were set up a little bit.
I mean, kind of. I think we were both working at the time, but he lived in kind of a college apartment where it was shared amongst 2 other roommates. Oh. So it wasn't I mean, we knew we would have to be moving out of that place, and I think he was planning on it at the end of the summer that year anyways. So in that sense, also kind of not in the right situation to be oh yeah, we're ready.
Right.
What was yours?
No, yeah, I can say the same for me, because we moved from my grandma's. He was living with me there, and then we moved into his mom's house. So we had a bedroom, and I mean, obviously the plan was to get our own place, which did happen, but so many other things happened that it didn't go the way it was supposed to originally. But yeah, I guess, I don't know, there's there wasn't really a like deep understanding of like all the responsibilities that would come with, you know, having this baby. You think you're able to do it and it'll just go smoothly, but
All right, I have a question. Were you excited when you found out that you were pregnant?
I was excited. I always wanted to be a mom, like since I was a kid. So it felt like the right thing. And I think before that, after our like crazy phases, which we didn't really discuss, but
Yeah.
I was feeling kind of lost, like a lot of people our age would feel, but also like depressed, like not really knowing like where my place was in the world. And finding out I'm pregnant, it's like, okay, now I have a purpose.
Yeah. I think I can agree that motherhood definitely gives you purpose, of course, but feeling like you're headed in a direction, you know? Whereas before we were kind of just like aimless, kind of experimenting and just not living the life that we wanted to be living.
Right.
And I think parenthood requires so much more of you that you have no choice but to step up and grow as a person.
Yeah. So what were you feeling when you found out?
Well, because I said that we were like, we planned it. I already was expecting to be pregnant when I thought that I was pregnant. And I pretty much knew when it happened. I just remember like being in shock. Because I realized I have a human growing inside of me already, and this is happening. I'm going to be a mom.
Wow. So also, one thing I wanted to see if we had like different experiences with our first and second pregnancies. Did you feel like with the first you had support?
I was left feeling very, very alone pretty much my whole pregnancy. I also experienced prenatal depression. So I was depressed while I was pregnant. Probably like the first 4 or 5 months that I was pregnant, I was very depressed. Like to the point I had to seek help because I was like almost having... I don't know if like delusions is the right word. I just remember I was in the shower one day and I had already been crying so much. And I remember seeing, like, okay, I'll start from what I saw was I thought I saw a huge giant knife in the shower. It was actually just a comb, but it was like out of whatever peripheral vision or whatever I saw it through. It was like it was a giant knife. But I had already been thinking like, I don't want to be going through this. Like, this is terrible. I, am lonely. I'm sad. I didn't feel supported. And so I was kind of, not that I wanted to kill myself, but that I was just very depressed. And
right.
so
And
I
when
was
you
having
when you have those negative thoughts, like your mind's going to start attaching to like negative.
So when I saw that, I started crying, first of all, in the shower. And I was like, oh my God, like, what is wrong with me? I'm actually going crazy. So I ended up reaching out to a therapist and I started going to therapy probably when I was like 2 months pregnant, maybe. I don't remember. And that was really helpful because she let me know that like everything I was going through and with my circumstances and everything, that it was very normal. Like I wasn't crazy, and that people can experience depression in pregnancy.
Well, that's good that you sought help because a lot of people don't. And then, the thoughts that they're having like scare them and then it just gets worse. Yeah.
So yes, if you are somebody that experiences that, definitely get help. You're not crazy, and circumstances affect the way you feel with all the hormones rushing through your body during pregnancy. Like, you're so vulnerable. So if you need that extra support, then go get that extra support, and if you're somebody that doesn't have a lot of money, usually state insurances that you get through government assistance cover all of those things at no cost to you. So it was very hard. But what about you?
So for my first pregnancy, let's see. I think, I definitely had a certain extent of support from family members, but I don't think as much as I needed. I just felt very alone at the time, and I wasn't really going places or seeing like even family members. Like I spent a lot of time like by myself, like in a bedroom. So that definitely doesn't help like the mental health aspect of like being pregnant and going through so many new things.
Do you think that you should have sought help?
I think so. Like looking back, I'm like in a completely different mindset now that it's hard to even relate to myself from that time period. Also because I was so much younger than I am now. But yeah, I think I would have benefited from that. But I mean, I did the best that I could with myself. I did a lot of like research on my own and tried to stay positive, but yeah, wasn't.
Did you ever talk to your grandma about anything that you were going through? I mean, she's, in case nobody knows, she's a therapist or psychologist.
Actually no.
Really?
Yeah. I think, I don't know, maybe there was this sense of like, I'm doing this on my own. I can handle this, you know?
Yeah.
But
you wanted to be strong or
Yeah.
appear strong.
Yeah.
Okay. That's okay. Some people are like that. You more so internalize things than express them.
So what was the best part of your pregnancy?
That's a good question. I think the best part, okay, so even though there was like so much happening during my first pregnancy and I was like all over, like even like traveling, I think the best part was just like knowing that I loved my baby so much and that I knew no matter what was going on around me that this was what I wanted and that I just felt so protective over him already in the sense of like you belong here and I want you and you matter. And oh, it's making me emotional. Oh my god, why am I about to cry?
No, yeah.
Oh my god, this is embarrassing. So I think I just felt like a deep connection to my baby, like going through all of these experiences together, even though he wasn't born yet. And I would just always like talk to him in my belly and tell him like how much I loved him and like that he was, you know, that like I wanted him so much. And I like think back, I wasn't working at the time and I did start school at the end of my pregnancy. But I just remember like sitting there and like watching him like kick in my belly and like just getting all this stuff ready for him to like come into the world. I don't know. I think that was like my favorite part was just like, at least me, because I know he wasn't really thinking about me, you know, but like my experience, like starting to love him as my baby and as a person and just knowing like he was there with me all the time, even when I was like sad and lonely, like he was there with me.
See, I think I have a similar response or experience to that. Yeah, I definitely had my moments where it just felt like me and her. And, you know, when you're able to feel something growing inside of you that you know is life and they're yours, you made them. That's a special, like, nobody can understand that unless they have gone through it.
Yeah, there's nothing else like it.
I definitely felt like, you know, during my, like, darkest feelings and moments, like, at least she's gonna love me. Like, she is, yeah, she's the one that, you know, is going to heal me, basically.
We have strived to become better versions of ourselves for our kids, and they have pushed us to make choices with them in mind instead of us, and like what's going to be good for the long run. And yeah, I think that they have done exactly that. They have caused us to grow.
Right. And that's the difference between like motherhood or being a mother versus you had a baby or you're just a parent. Like, you know?
Yeah.
What would you feel is the worst part of your first pregnancy?
Definitely the depression that I had in the beginning. As they say, hindsight is 20/20. So probably just not actually being prepared in the way that I see now is necessary. You know, I feel so many people are born out of marriage, out of the best circumstances, right? Or they're not born in the best circumstances, you know, to single moms in poverty or bad relationships or broken homes, whatever it is. And you can't guarantee a good life for anyone, even if they're born in the perfect circumstances, right? But I do understand the value in people trying to teach their kids, like, go to school first, get a job, make sure you and your partner are on the same page and financially ready for a child, because it would make it so much easier.
Yeah.
It's not going to make it easy because parenthood is not easy, but it would make it a lot less stressful.
Right.
And so I think the just not being in that stage in life what made it a lot harder, because I had to depend on so many other people, and I felt kind of like helpless and stuck. And I just realized, like, wow, I need to like provide for my child. I need to like make more for myself out of life, because I can't get by like this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think for me, it was extremely hard going through like the fluctuations of like your emotions. Because I was already doing that with, you know, around our periods. Obviously we get a little bit more emotional, but I think for a long time, I know recently I realized this is what I have, but I think for a long time I had this condition. I don't know if we already talked about it. I think
We
you
have
do too.
before
Yeah.
in the past, yeah.
So PMDD, which is premenstrual dysphoric disorder. And basically your symptoms from your period, but like 100 times louder.
Mostly the mental part, right?
Right.
Like
Mental,
we're not
emotional,
really talking about like
right,
cramps
like you
and stuff.
Hate your
It's-
life, you
yeah.
hate yourself, and it happens every month. Being pregnant, it kind of felt like the same thing, but it could be every other day, you know?
Yeah, like more consistently.
So that was really hard. And then also, not being completely prepared, definitely. There was a point where we were supposed to move into our first apartment. That was the plan, with having our daughter, that we'd have our own place. But basically the first few months I was living there by myself, and there was like no Wi-Fi, no cable, my phone was off. So that was really hard.
You were very isolated.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like we have very similar experiences in our mental states being pregnant.
Yeah.
You know, not necessarily the same outward circumstances,
right. Not
but
the things
feeling
that got us to that point,
Yeah.
but how we handled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's hard.
And that happens to a lot of women that get pregnant. Like, you know, it doesn't have to be something as severe as like such a toxic relationship, but just not feeling like your partner is, you know, all the way helpful.
Yeah.
That can put you in that place too.
I was going to ask overall, not just in terms of circumstances, but how was your pregnancy for you? Like symptoms, and was there a time where it got easier for you? Like the typical stuff.
Okay. So my first and second pregnancy were really different. For my first, I didn't really have, I think I had like morning sickness a couple times in the early stages, and then I didn't really have any other issues. So
Well, that's pretty nice.
yeah. As far as like interesting stuff like cravings, it's really weird, and I don't drink lemonade now. I hate lemonade.
Really?
Yeah, but I always, like, every day I had to have a lemonade. I'd go to the gas station and get a Minute Maid lemonade.
Oh my God, that's funny. I wonder what it is that is in that your body was craving.
I know.
That's interesting.
What about you?
I was with Ocean pretty like sick the whole time. I remember the first few weeks I was okay. I remember feeling like I don't know if it was like anxiety of realizing that a person was growing inside my body. I got like this really weird feeling of almost like, I don't know how to describe it any other way than maybe I could feel the sensation of there being more blood flowing through my body because
Really?
I was like, your blood volume increases. I remember feeling almost kind of like lightheaded and like just strange. I remember craving beef jerky and cheese for like the first month I was pregnant.
That sounds good right now.
I think I just needed the protein, but that's like all that I wanted. And then came like the morning sickness and stuff, and I would like, the worst part for me was that no matter what, even if I was sitting still in the car, I would have like motion sickness. And so anytime I drove myself or drove with others, I would always end up puking when I got out of the car.
Oh my gosh.
And then I would be like dizzy for like a half hour or an hour and feel like so sick and need to lay down. And that was throughout my entire pregnancy.
Oh my gosh.
And I felt better like almost immediately after I had him. It went away. And then it started again with my second. It was a little bit better, but I think I was more sick with my second throughout the day. Like I remember I was working actually when I was pregnant with Kai, and I had to take snacks with me every day because I had to eat like every 30 minutes or I would get nauseous and dizzy. And then still the motion sickness of like puking whenever I got like out of a car from like driving around and stuff. But I would say like I craved chocolate milk with Ocean really bad.
Really?
Like it was the only thing that would help my heartburn.
With Lucia, so both of our seconds, we craved milk.
Oh no, this was with Ocean. So yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, it helped my heartburn so much. But I do think it's why I got super bad cystic acne all over my back.
Really?
Yeah, because I stayed away from it with Kai because I was like, I really think it was the dairy, and I didn't have that problem at all with Kai.
I think I was drinking milk, like probably needing like the calcium from it.
Yeah.
And like I was already off milk. Like I was like, I'm not gonna drink cow's milk anymore. Like this was like a year of not having that.
Oh,
And,
really?
Yeah. And then I'm like, I need cow's milk.
Wait, actually, that's a really good point because I wasn't drinking dairy then either. Like it had been actually years that I hadn't
Isn't that
had
weird?
milk as like to drink.
Yeah.
Other than in like ice cream
And
or
it's like,
cheese, I didn't.
your body's like,
consume
no,
dairy.
I
Yeah.
want that.
Yeah, and then I started drinking milk.
Yeah. I would be like at work, like taking little Dixie cups, like from milk in the fridge for my clients. Like, sorry guys, I need a little bit.
That's so funny. I'm trying to think of what else. With Kai, I had really bad, I think they call it antenatal. No, I don't know. Maybe I had rage while I was pregnant. And then also ever since I had him, but that I didn't experience with Ocean.
I had rage after having Ayla.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. I had never, but this is what I find interesting because like even before you had Ayla, I feel like you were still more of like a fighter than I was.
Yeah.
Right? Like I feel like I've always been the kind of person where like I'll talk shit, but I'm not really like about hitting anybody. You know what I mean?
Like I already had some of the rage there and you didn't.
So when I got pregnant with Kai, was the first time I ever actually like envisioned and really wanted to punch someone in their face. Like I can't even tell you, like I thought about it and it was like I could feel their face
Have you ever had dreams
hitting
like that?
my hand. No.
I had a dream where, I don't know, somebody did something that pissed me off, and I went to punch them, and literally in my sleep, like, moved my arm and knocked everything over on my nightstand, and it, like, woke me up. I'm like, what the
Oh my
heck?
God, no, that's never happened to me. But yeah, I just remember thinking, like now I understand why people want to fight people, because it would feel good. And I had never had that thought before. Like previously, before I got pregnant with Kai, if I was ever like really angry with somebody, and like if even that thought would cross my mind slightly, I would always like be like, that's not a good enough reason to hit somebody, you know, even
Yeah.
if it was. I would be like, no, it's not a good enough reason. But ever since then, I'm like, yeah.
That's hilarious, actually.
And I'm like, I don't
But it
know.
also sucks to, like, keep feeling those feelings. It's,
Yeah.
like, exhausting to be angry.
Yeah, I became much more irritable. Like, I was already an emotional person, but it was more in the sense of like crying and being depressed. Now I understand the feeling of anger and like really like being angry. And I didn't have that experience before. And I don't know what brought it on or why.
You know, I think it's something to do with your hormones changing.
Yeah.
Some type of imbalance going on. But also...
Well, you said you got it after Ayla. I was thinking, because I had both of my kids close together, that like I wasn't really ready, and it hadn't even been a year of not being pregnant before I got pregnant again.
There's a lot happening in a short amount of time.
Yeah.
But also, being, you know, the mothers that we are, or that we strive to be, like there's so many things that we take into consideration, and when the people around us don't do that,
Yeah.
you can't
We get
help
pissed.
but be angry. It's like, it's for the kids. How could you? How did you feel about your body while pregnant?
Okay, so for my first pregnancy, I was in a good enough space where like I really liked my body at that time. I was like fit, smaller, and I just looked really cute. And so throughout my pregnancy, I also looked really cute and like was pretty small up until like the very end. And so I think through that lens, I was like, oh, my body's beautiful. And like, of course, like you're growing a human being, like that's awesome. And so I really appreciated that. And I remember like taking a lot of pictures and trying to be like artsy with it, and just like always admiring my bump. And then when I got pregnant with Kai, I did not feel quite the same, because my body had changed so much from having Ocean, and I didn't have time to really like start being active again or get to a place where I felt comfortable in my body again. And then I was pregnant. And so I actually have like probably less than 5 pictures that I've taken in my second pregnancy of my stomach and belly. And I regret that now, but I just wasn't like admiring it the same way. I also had a baby to take care of.
Right.
So I didn't get to like sit around all day and daydream and be like, oh my God, my baby. Like I was the first time around. I was working. I had a toddler. Or barely had a toddler. He was 8 months old when I got pregnant. Like I knew I was pregnant with Kai, and I knew he was coming. It was way less of a connection than there was when I was pregnant with Ocean, because I just didn't have the time to like really get attached and pay attention. So
Right. I don't think
was
that's any
definitely
fault of
different.
your own. It's just, you know, the circumstances.
yeah. How did you feel about your body?
For Ayla, I didn't start showing for a long time, I felt like, with my pregnancy. So I don't have a lot of pictures being pregnant with her either, because it just, you know, I didn't look pregnant for a while. And then by the time I was, there were so many, like, things going on in my personal life that I just, you know, couldn't focus on being happy about my bump.
Yeah.
And very quickly after having her, like, I was just back to my tiny self. With Lucia, it was different. That was actually, like, the most confident I've ever felt.
Really?
Yeah.
What changed? What was different?
I gained more weight, and, like, looking at myself, it's like, okay, this is a woman, not, like, a girl. Like, I always felt like I just looked like a girl.
Okay.
And, you know, just being tiny and finally, like, now I look like a woman.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I actually don't even think I've seen that many pictures of you pregnant with
Lucia?
either one. Yeah,
Oh,
but
I'll have to
definitely
show you.
Lucia. So, yeah, that would be interesting to see, like,
Yeah.
the difference. So you felt better the second time versus the first time.
Yeah. And I also had less going on in my personal life with the second pregnancy that I could, like, appreciate and admire my pregnancy.
Okay.
I feel like.
Total opposite.
Yeah.
That's funny. Okay, so I had another question. 1 child versus 2. Your opinion. Or experience, or what you
I
liked
feel
versus
like
don't like.
If you're going to have one, you might as well have 2.
Okay, why do you say that?
Um,
So you have had a good experience, you're saying?
Yes.
Like you didn't mind adding 1 more.
yes. Well, to begin with, when I found out I was pregnant with Lucia, like, I cried in the shower. I
Like
that-
happy?
No.
Oh, okay. I was like, ooh, I didn't.
But it was around a time, like, a couple weeks. I found out a couple weeks after my older brother died.
Oh, that's right.
My sibling's brother, but, you know, we all call each other siblings. Yeah, so that was it just felt like too much going on. My daughter just turned 1, and I wasn't really expecting it.
So what made you change your mind once you had her that you felt like, oh, 2, no big deal?
Ayla is the best big sister, and, like,
Okay.
she immediately was like that. Like, even
Really?
while pregnant, she would, like, talk to my belly
Aw.
and rub my belly, and she was aware that there was a baby.
Okay.
So, like, her being happy and excited definitely helped come up with that
Okay.
thought. Yeah, so them being so close and being so close in age, they've always been, like, the best friends. Like, yeah, and I feel like so many people that were an only child, I mean, I know not everyone, but so many people, like, wish they had siblings.
Oh, I did. I always wanted a sibling.
So, and, like, if you're already taking care of one, like, what's another? Like, I don't know. It doesn't feel like such a huge task to take on. I get, like, at a certain stage, like, when you have a newborn and a toddler, it's, like, a little difficult to, like, spread yourself. But I don't know. I found a way to make it work, and it did, so.
Okay, I think that's interesting because I, of course, had the opposite experience. We're always opposites over here. I felt so just not ready. Okay, before I got pregnant with Ocean, I was the kind of person who was like, I'm going to have 50 million babies and bring them whenever the time is right kind of thing to, like, you know, maybe because of, like, my upbringing and, like, my short period of being kind of, like, religious and stuff. I was like, oh yeah, God, give me all the babies you want. Mm-hmm. And then I had 1 and I was like, oh, okay, 1 is enough for now. Because.
Well, did you have a lot of experience with babies growing up?
Like, maybe not babies, but children, yes. Like, I was always
Okay.
around. Well, yeah, I mean, my dad's family was full of kids. And
I mean, I
then-
feel like for me, like, there was always a new baby in the family, and I gravitated towards the baby and helped, and
I don't know if I would say, like, babies. Like, I always did really well with younger kids, and they always loved me, and I was good at playing with them, and, like, they liked me.
yeah,
And
I was just wondering if that would be a factor in, like, you know,
Well,
once you had one, you were like, you know.
No. I think because I liked being around kids so much and, like, helping with them and playing with them, and like, that's part of what made me want to be a mom. I wanted my own little baby.
No, I know,
and,
but, like,
yeah,
going from, like,
I was also
give
a
me-
nanny.
Right, but going from, like, give me all the babies to, like, once you had a baby, you're like, wait, like,
Right, because I realized it was way more work than what I had previously thought. You know, it wasn't just playing with a baby. Now I'm
Right.
taking care of it. I'm with it all day long. I'm not getting sleep. You know, you're hungry, you're thirsty, you're
Okay,
tired,
but
you
I
can
guess
barely
also
shower.
because I am the oldest out of my siblings, like I already took on a type of like role that's like more than just
Right.
I'm playing with them, I'm also helping.
Well, we can't forget about Taya. I mean, Taya was born when I was 17.
That's true.
And I was a huge part in her life and a caretaker, essentially. And so I knew what it was like to take care of a baby and a toddler. But obviously, being a sister is still, even a very involved sister, it's still not the same as being a parent. And I remember thinking when I nannied, like, oh, 2 kids is really not that big of a deal. But it's such a huge difference when you have a motherly connection to your children, because you have anxieties, you have worries, you have all these things that you don't think about when they're not your own, you know, that take up space and energy inside of you.
Oh, which is another thing, because once you become a mom, you have those feelings about every kid.
Yeah. Yeah. And so it just made it such a different realization for me. Like, okay, 2 would be a lot of work because 1 is hard enough. And I also knew I wasn't in the place to have a second child, like where we were living, how much money we had.
Is that an opinion that you have still, or
in terms of what?
2 being
Yes.
too much?
Yes,
Really?
yes. I often think of when I just had 1, and not because I don't like love Kai. I
Right.
absolutely love Kai, and I think that he's been like the greatest addition to the family. I felt like I was already doing so much, and then having to add another one on top of like having a full-time job and trying to be like the best mom that I could to Ocean. I feel like our time together ended too soon. And like I didn't get to finish babying him and giving him all of the things that he wanted and needed from me. When Kai was born, Ocean was 14 or 15 months, I think. And I was still breastfeeding him. And so then I was breastfeeding 2 babies. And it was completely exhausting. I ended up getting like sick so much after I had Kai. We literally came home from the hospital with pink eye. And then it was all downhill from there. I was like missing work all the time. I was like so stressed out. And I was just completely overwhelmed because I didn't know how to give both of my little children what they needed when I'm only one person. And
Right.
so if one of them's crying for me, I have to choose, okay, who am I tending to first and for how long before I go to the other one and let them know that everything's going to be okay. I just feel like I also didn't prepare Ocean very well for becoming a big brother and not being the only baby, but he was also so young, you know, when I was pregnant. And when Kai came home from the hospital, Ocean turned into like a terror. Like
Really?
it was like I didn't even know him anymore. And I remember like being like, "Oh my God, like did we ruin him? Is he ever going to be the same again?" Like I felt so bad. I was like he was like acting out so much. I remember he was like hitting Kai. He was like not listening to us. I was yelling at him.
That happens a lot.
I was yelling
to
at
people,
him.
though.
And I was like, "Oh my God, I feel so bad because like this is a big change for him too." And like he's doing the best he can. I knew that. But I was also so emotional and so exhausted. And then I was yelling at my little 1-year-old as if like he really understood anything. And so I just felt a lot of guilt because I put all of this on him. And then I don't know what I expected, but I just felt like it was too much for all of us.
Right. Well, maybe because you had boys too, that's a factor. Like, I don't know if it's like proven, but I think, you know, being
The maternal instinct
right,
of
even
Ayla
at
versus
1,
Ocean. Yeah.
At 1, she
That's
was
true.
like,
I didn't think of that.
right. She was like, she wanted to hold Lucia. She wanted to feed her. She wanted to push her in the swing.
Yeah, Ocean wasn't like that.
Yeah.
Ayla
was very happy to do those things. I can remember being pregnant with Lucia and working, and, you know, already my time was being cut short with Ayla, and then having the moment realizing like this is the last time she's gonna be just her.
Yeah.
And she won't even remember it.
Yep.
Like from this moment on, they'll only remember each other.
Yeah.
But I mean, so many good things came out of it. So
Yeah, I agree. I think that no matter how hard the transition has been, when your kids finally like start playing together and showing each other like affection and like talking to each other like without you, it's like the best thing to see, and it makes you feel like so happy.
yeah.
And like Ocean is already like protective of Kai, even towards me. Like if I get mad at Kai, he gets mad at me for being mad at Kai.
That's
and,
cute.
And just like when they like hug each other, Ocean will be like, Kai loves me. And I'm like, yeah, he does. And it's just very sweet. But yeah, so it's been hard adding too, but everybody's different in how they handle things. So do you have any other questions as far as pregnancy or life after having them?
I don't think so.
No?
Actually. Do you?
I don't think so either. I feel like we talked about quite a bit. You're a little bit further along in motherhood than I am. Your girls are older than my boys, so you've already experienced a lot.
Yes.
What would you say about like the different stages and like where you're at now with them versus when they were little? Like just your thoughts, because I'm still in the phase of toddlers, kind of, you know?
Yeah. I mean, every stage is a first. So no matter what,
Yeah.
you're going into it not really knowing, like, this is the first time my daughter's in second grade. I'm
Yeah.
like, like, no matter what, it's a first time. But it gets easier, and seeing your kids' personalities blossom, that's like the best part of motherhood. But also, it gets to a point where they can communicate with you about like what they want, what they need, what they're
thinking.
Right, what they're thinking, and like have a conversation. So
do you think that you enjoy it more now than when they were little? I feel like it's like it's such different things.
yeah, I can't
like
compare. I wish they never stopped being babies.
Yeah.
I love babies. Like, I miss them.
Yeah.
But
then there's like the part now, like you said, you get to communicate with them and have these conversations with them and like see them
it's a different
turning
kind of
into
bond.
people.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, they're constantly like, I wonder what I'll look like as a teenager. Like, it's so cute. But yeah. And it's also interesting, like, seeing them at these ages and remembering yourself at that age. So that's another experience. I've had to like relive some traumas in childhood, like, oh my gosh, like when I was that age, But
yeah. Or how becoming a mother, I would say if you're a good mother or striving to be a good mother, right? You're going to think back on those times when you were their age and think like, okay, how can I relate to them? How can I make them feel understood? Mm-hmm. How am I going to talk about this so that doesn't happen to them? Or how am I going to talk about this so that they don't feel the way that I did, right? You want to make it a better experience for them growing up in whatever way than what you had, or maybe you want to do it just as good as your parents did. Right. So,
it's important to be able to think about, those questions and situations that come up. And if anybody has questions that maybe they're, they haven't had somebody they can relate to that might have experienced it, we can offer our opinions or advice.
Yeah.
Not that we're like professional moms, but
well, we are moms and we're professionals, but I would say for the most part, I think you and I align on like communicating with our children about things and being open and honest with them about like life and the world around them for as much as they can take in at their age.
Right. As much as is appropriate.
Yeah. Because I know I want to give my kids understanding and perspective from a young age. And I also want them to be people that value being vulnerable and being honest and not shying away from conversations that can make them feel uncomfortable, and just being able to like be authentic.
Here's a question. Have you thought about having more kids?
Yes. I think if I had the money and the time, I would definitely have more kids.
Like how many?
It's gonna sound funny, but I watched this. There was a show on Netflix that was like a family of realtors. It was like a mom, a dad, and they had 4 or 5 boys. I can't remember, and all 2 or 3 of their older sons out of the 4 or 5 of them were also realtors, and it was kind of like a family business, and they lived in like France or something. And I was like, oh my God,
So
how
you're trying to
wonderful.
build a business with your
No,
family?
not the business,
Okay.
but I'm trying to like, I was like, how wonderful would it be to have 4 or 5 boys?
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I was like, wow, I would love to have that many sons.
Oh my gosh. Well, I just can't. I've never had a son, so I don't know what that would be like.
Yeah, I don't know why. I would love to have all boys, which is what I actually wanted before I got pregnant. I wanted boys.
So you
And
don't want a girl?
I do, but I think I'd be okay if I didn't too.
Okay.
Like, I remember when I started nannying for this family that had 2 boys, I was like, oh wow, like I definitely want boys. Like before that, I don't think I really wanted boys because I didn't have any really in my family.
Always wanted a boy first. You know, like the typical.
Yeah,
like,
older brother. That's what.
The
Yeah.
older brother, the little sister. But I'm an oldest sibling,
Yeah.
and you know, girls make good older siblings too.
Yeah, I definitely agreed. But I think I just for some reason leaned towards having boys, and that's
Yeah.
what I have. But I do think that if I would at least have one more, because I feel like 2 isn't enough.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I feel like there's definitely another one meant to be. I don't know when, if not more. But we have to have the money to be able to afford it.
For me, after having my girls 2 so close in age, which your boys are too, I can't just have one more. I have to have 2 more.
Oh my God. Okay, so
There's such a huge age gap now already. I don't know when I'm going to have another baby, but
Yeah,
when I
that's
do, it's already
they're going to be like the only child,
right.
kind of.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They'll be an only child, and I don't want that. I want them to have the same connection that Ayla and Lucia have together.
Yeah. No, I definitely have thought about that. But then I'm like, I don't know if I have the mental ability or
gonna make it
capacity
work. I'll make it
to be
work.
okay.
I'll do it for them to be okay.
Oh my God. That's funny. I definitely want at least one more, and I would have 2 more. I think I would need to be at a place where I don't have to work. That would be the only way that I could have 2 close in age again, was that I'm a stay-at-home mom. So if I become one down the road, then I'll be having a baby.
I mean, if there was a period where I was a stay-at-home mom, and then, I don't know, that would have to be worked out. But I want a boy, so if the boy doesn't come first,
You're going to try again.
yes.
Okay.
And
I understand that.
I'm willing to have 3 more. If they're all
To
girls, if they're all girls, so be it. But
That is funny. All right, well then we'll have to get pregnant at the same time, so don't do it yet.
that's another experience. I was pregnant with my sister at the same time.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay, I was pregnant with my aunt. How weird is that?
Yeah.
Oh wait, okay, so I was pregnant with my aunt with Ocean, and she was what, 44 or something at the time? And then I was pregnant with my mom when I was pregnant with Kai.
Yeah, that's interesting too. That's a different.
Yeah.
So I think this pretty much wraps up our portion on motherhood and our journeys on becoming pregnant and being pregnant and the experiences we had with that.
We hope that you guys were able to connect to us in some way. I'm sure we share a lot of similarities with tons of mothers out there, because motherhood is a shared experience. Even if we go through it differently, we all understand the trials and hardships that come along with it, and the changes and the joys and everything in between. So, thank you for watching again, because we are really excited to be doing this, as I keep saying, but it's the truth. We're just really excited to start this project, and we just hope to gain like friends with our audience. We're just thankful. We'll see you guys next week for episode 4.
It is going to be about where we are now and how we came to be in this position.
Like this video, subscribe to our channel, and again, you can click the links below to follow us on our other platforms.